Welcome along to Film Talk, Rabbit and Snail's Film Talk, that is, and we're compiling the 100 greatest films of all time, at least the 100 greatest films, in our humble opinion. And I'm delighted I'm joined by the wonderful film historian, film guru, film whatever you want to call it, Mark Priest, who is just great, so much knowledge and experience of films. And what's your contribution to our top 100 list this time?
Well, this is a great movie. Great movie. It features the Duke, John Wayne.
Ah, right, that Duke. Yes, yeah. John Wayne.
Yep. And it's the 1952 movie, The Quiet Man.
Wow, what a lovely film.
It's an absolutely glorious film, and I love this movie. It's enchanting, it's beautiful to watch, it's great characters, great story, lovely music. It's a feast for the eyes. I remember I probably had a crush on Maureen O'Hara myself as a young kid, watching this on the Saturday afternoon movies at home. Mm-hmm. Her red hair has always stuck in my mind, and she's so beautiful in this movie. She's gorgeous, and she's such a headstrong character in this as well. It's lovely to watch. And John Wayne, a lot of people say this is probably his best movie. I know he got the Oscar for Rooster Cogburn, yeah, and that's great as well. But I really like him in The Quiet Man, and he loved making it. And of course, this was directed by John Ford, yes, 4-time winner of the Academy for Best Director, of which this was one of them. Mm-hmm. And his family was originally from Ireland. So he had this book in mind. I think it was about 1935. So it took him, a good 17 odd years to get to make the movie. But he really desperately wanted to do it because it resonated so much with him about his roots.
And home and family.
Yes, exactly, yes, exactly. So it was really very poignant for him and really important to do it well. And it's a great cast. If you get the chance to watch it again, you'll recognise a lot of the characters from this film are actually in lots of other John Ford movies or even John Wayne movies as well. In some of those westerns, and they're really great characters, great actors.
But one of the character actors, Barry Fitzgerald, you say that about the westerns, but he was in The Bells of St Mary's with Ben Crosby.
Right. Yes.
And then there were none.
Yes.
And those kind of, it's a whole real diverse range of movies.
Absolutely.
Great character actor.
Yeah, absolutely. Wonderful character actor. And you can see that through the film, So just talking about the movie itself.
Yeah. What's the nub of the story then?
Well, I think the nub of the story is John Wayne. He's a boxer that's actually killed somebody back in America. And ever since he was a young child, his mother has always talked to him about Innisfree, which is this place in Ireland, a fictitious place in Ireland, which for him, in his own words, meant heaven to him.
Right.
So he wanted to come back to Ireland, as a lot of Americans have done, and to rebuild his life. And he wants to actually buy the house that belonged to his parents and move back into there. So as soon as he comes back to Ireland, he arrives on the train. And if you've ever had a chance to go to Ireland, it's a magical place. The people are wonderful. They're charming. They're very, very interested in everybody else. So as soon as he arrives, he's been an American, there's a group of people gather around him and just give him lots of instructions and lots of opinions about how to get to where he needs to go to. So it sort of sets the scene. Yep. And he's picked up by this character called Micheline Flynn, in fact, who is a great character in the film. It's interesting. Micheline, as I understand, means Michael Lean, as in small Michael, because he's not that tall.
Okay.
Which is another little charming sort of part of Irish life. And he takes them along, and he starts talking to him. And John Wayne explains who he is, and of course Micheline Flynn recognises the name and recognises his parents as well, who used to live there. And it's a lovely scene where he sort of says, "Well done for coming back to Ireland." And very quickly, John Wayne, the Duke, bumps into Maureen O'Hara in a church, And straight away, she's got eyes for him, and he's got eyes for her. And the whole film then is a story about their love for each other, and how he desperately wants to become married to her.
Yeah.
But it's very hard for her to get married because this is Ireland, and old Ireland, and so things have to be done in a very, very specific
Very
way.
traditional.
Exactly. And her brother, who rules the roost at home, has to give her permission to even date John Wayne.
Wow.
So they have to arrange a matchmaker, which is this Micheline Flynn, to go and spend some time with them out on a date. And initially, when Sean Thornton wants to actually take her out on the first date, Will Danaher, the brother, won't allow it. Obviously, John Wayne's disappointed that the brother won't let him date Maureen O'Hara, and she's disappointed as well. But Micheline Flynn, who's there, says, well, don't get too disappointed. There's plenty more steps. And John Wayne makes the ultimate mistake of saying, well, this doesn't change anything to Maureen O'Hara. We're going to get married anyway. And of course, her face drops. This is not the way it's done over in Ireland. So he goes away with his tail between his legs.
Quite right too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And he's clearly bothered by this, but he still loves her, obviously. Anyway, there's a plot concocted between the local priest, some of the other people in the village, to get Will Danaher to change his mind, so that John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara can actually start to date. And so there's a horse race. It's a great scene. It's filmed up in Galway, actually. Most of the filming was done actually in Ireland, and it's beautiful.
It looks fantastic.
Oh,
doesn't it?
absolutely,
I mean,
absolutely.
And it being early 1950s, you might assume black and white, but it's a beautiful colour production.
John Ford insisted on Technicolor being used, which I guess was a very expensive format at that time. But it said it had to be like that, and you can see that. And there's some scenes in the place called Ashford Castle where a lot of this was filmed, and it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. And we cut now to the scene where they're actually having this horse race, which is really exciting. And of course, John Wayne wins, and the idea is that Will Danaher gets the opportunity to date this other lady, which will allow him to sort of give Maureen O'Hara his authority to get married to John Wayne. Which happens, and there's a wedding, and that's all very nice. And of course, she wants her dowry. Her dowry means everything to her. It's an important part of certainly an Irish woman's, a spinster, that actually she has a dowry which is hers and she's earned it. And Will Danaher, once he finds out that there's been a plot to get him to allow them to get married, kicks off. He throws the money on the floor. There's a punch up. He knocks John Wayne to the floor, and it's a disaster. And of course, what happens is, even though they are married, Maureen O'Hara doesn't want anything to do with John Wayne. She thinks he's a coward for not fighting her brother, because she wants this money. And he can't understand this. He can't understand her mercenary mind as to why why the money is so important. So it goes backwards and forwards here. Eventually gets to a point where he's had enough. John Wayne's had enough, and he drags Maureen O'Hara across all these fields. I don't know if you remember the movie.
I do, yeah, very much.
To go in to see her brother, and tells the brother, no money, the deal's off, you can have her back. And he throws Maureen O'Hara at his feet. And obviously Will Danaher is so ashamed because he's in front of all these other people. He actually gets the money out and says, well, there you go. And at that point, John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara actually throw the money into a furnace to prove that it's not the money at all that matters. It was the principle that mattered to Maureen O'Hara. And of course, what happens then is a massive fight between John Wayne and Will Danaher, and it's a fantastic fight that goes whatever is a fantastic fight can be. And it's not really boxing as they really know it. It's just a rough and tumble across the fields. They end up in the pub. They have some drinks in the pub. They sort of have a sort of begrudging sort of respect for each other, But again, it's just a charming movie, and in the end, they end up being friends, of course. And I love it. I absolutely love it.
Fantastic. Wow. Is it of all the many films that John Ford is famous for? I mean, he's kind of seen as the Westerns guy.
That's right.
So I can get the family connection as to why he wanted to make it, but it seems to be outside of his norm, doesn't it?
Yes, and I think it was he's infamously known for Westerns, really. The Searchers was another one of his wonderful
the
films.
John Ford Western.
Absolutely,
Almost as
absolutely,
a genre.
yeah. And I think that this was just something he always wanted to do because of his background from coming from the island. I think that, interestingly, just a quick spin-off here, Victor McLaglen, who played Will Danaher, his son was Andrew McLaglen, who was he actually helped on the movie, and that became Andrew V. McLaglen, who made The Wild Geese and The Sea Wolves and other movies as well. Just an interesting twist there.
Is it your? I mean, it's a favourite John Wayne movie though.
For me, yes, I love him in Rooster Cogburn. I mean, I think that's a really good film for him. But this is the one. This is the one where he's great. He's 6'4". He's lean. He looks fantastic. He was actually at his peak. He's such a good-looking chap. I mean, okay, he wasn't. A lot of people might say what's attractive in a man sometimes, but he's got that sort of look, that charismatic personality that actually sort of you can't take your eyes off him.
Super.
And Maureen O'Hara, as I said, she's gorgeous.
Just looks magnificent.
She is gorgeous.
What a great contribution to our top 100 greatest films ever made. The Quiet Man, John Wayne, Maureen O'Hara, directed by the great John Ford. Here's the cover. Look at that. This is the film to watch. I've seen it many times, and it is a great slice of life and a great. It portrays Ireland in such a positive way. There's value in those traditional values, isn't there? That kind of traditional way of doing things. So, a great film. Mark, thank you for adding The Quiet Man to our top 100. Thank you.
Good, thank you.